nurse, and I'm also have a master's in counseling and psychology. So all that means is I have a strong interest in behavior change and bringing things into our life that help us become stronger and happier and all those kinds of things. So today we're going to be talking about letting go. And so when you hear that word letting go, what's your first reaction when you think of letting go of something? Oh my God. What is it? Not holding on to something. Oh, relaxing. So you see it as a positive. You have a positive feeling. Anybody else, when I say letting go, what's your reaction to that? Yeah, not holding on to hard feelings or emotional issues. Yeah. Stretching, right? You thought it was going to be, yeah. Letting go of tightness. It's a little bit like stretching. I like stretching our brain a little bit. Yeah. So when I think of letting go, my first reaction before I even think about it is, I want to hold on a little tighter. It's a little bit like, I don't know if I want to let go, because I'm okay with what I'm doing right now. So it's a little bit scary when I first think of it. But we're going to talk about that. So what are we talking about? What types of things can we consider letting go of? So I just made a list of some things that I could think of. So letting go of past resentments that we might be holding on to, past failures, that's a big one. Sometimes we don't even know we're carrying that, even from childhood. But sometimes we ruminate on it and carry it with us without even realizing it. Grief, although, we need to have grief when we lose people. Sometimes we just persist in the rumination and the sadness and the pain and don't move on from it. Letting go of a job, if it's not the right job for us, if it's causing us to lose our energy and our self-esteem and those kinds of things. A big one that I meant to highlight here is letting go of things that we don't have the physical ability to do anymore, or sometimes the mental ability to do anymore. And that's a big one for all of us at this age. And deciding, when we need to let go of certain things. Letting go of negative self-talk. Gosh, huge one. Another thing where we're chit-chattering to ourselves all day long and saying negative things and we don't even realize it. And those negative things really change the trajectory of our life, what we do. Letting go of other people's expectations of us. Projects that aren't of value to us. Things we think we have to do, but maybe, it's not a big value. Like I keep thinking that I have to go through these boxes of photos that I have. I mean, there must be 20 boxes of photos. And I keep thinking I have to go through those and organize them into the years and make copies for my children and blah, 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 blah. But I just don't know anymore if it's of that great a value. And if, anybody, they can look at the pictures after I die and pick out the ones they want, So letting go of toxic relationships, old clothes, household items, downsizing, getting rid of old clothes that don't fit you, that you don't like anymore, household items that are broken or that you don't use. And a big one, unhealthy habits, poor eating, overspending, surfing the internet, alcohol abuse, smoking, watching too much TV, staying up late, et cetera, whatever, we've all got habits that we do. And then the last one I put on there is also a big one, trying to control others. Who's done that? Only one person has done that. You've done it a lot, right? I think we've all done that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So letting go is we do it all the time. We even you guys all let go today of something probably. You maybe weren't planning on coming to this lecture, but then when you heard it was about letting go, you thought, well, I'll stay for that. So then you had to let go of whatever your plan was for this hour of the day, right? So we do let go all the time. Some things are harder to let go of than other things, but letting go is a natural part of the life cycle. And if we don't do it, we can't grow, we become stagnant and unhappy and ill even. So here's some examples that I thought of from nature. Snakes shedding their skin, right? Letting go of their skin. Why do, I didn't know this till I looked it up yesterday. Why do snakes shed their skin? Right, because snakes grow, and if they don't shed their skin, they get suffocated in their skin. Imagine, I mean, it's such a good metaphor for us also letting go of things that are toxic or not helpful to us, because we can't grow. We can't become who we're meant to be. We can't give our gifts to the world if we're not shedding our skin or letting go of things that are no longer of value to us. They also shed their skin because there's parasites on the skins of snakes many times. And so you get rid of the parasites. So same with us, things that are attaching themselves to us that really aren't of value and are pulling us down. Trees dropping their leaves. Why do trees drop their leaves?
That's not your job.
To give us something to do, right?
To grow new leaves.
Well, they drop their leaves in the winter because it's hard for the trees, most trees, in the winter. And so they basically need to downsize to maintain their energy for their trunks so that they will make it through the winter. And then in the spring, get new leaves because we've dropped our previous leaves. Can't get new leaves if we don't let go of our old leaves. And yeah, well, they can, they can drop branches that are dead and are no longer of value. Yeah. Uh-huh. Once you're growing in that direction, you don't need this anymore. It's taking your energy. Yeah. And caterpillars leaving their cocoons, you know, can't stay. If what would happen if the caterpillar just stayed in the cocoon? Die. Yeah. So it's a natural part of the life cycle and we all need to do it. And it's actually a wonderful thing to let go of things and grow. So how do we know when to let go? So how do we know when to hold on tighter to something or it's time to let go of it? And this is just a general guideline, but listening to your energy. Do you continue to put energy into something that doesn't give you energy back? So there should be give and take with things that you give and you get something back from it, or it lifts up your energy. Oh, good. I got front row people here. Nice. You guys are gonna get all the questions are gonna come your way. We're talking about letting go. Okay. All right. So something that drains your energy kind of consistently and doesn't bring you energy back, doesn't bring you happiness or a sense of value. Holding on to the wrong things takes a lot of your energy, doesn't it? Yes. And if we don't have, you know, an abundance of energy, we don't have energy to spare. We've got a certain amount of energy and attention. And so if we've got something going on that's really draining our energy, that's where our attention and energy goes. And we don't have energy to put in other areas. So listen to your energy when you're in a situation and you're trying to decide, do I need to let this go in some way? Also think about whether or not this situation or the way that you're doing things serves you. Does it bring you happiness? Does it align with your values? How is this all working for me? I'm going to give an example with my son, you know, trying to get him to change a certain behavior. And the way that the interactions were going with him did not bring me happiness. It didn't work. It did align with my values, but not really because I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting, you know, be able to give him the help that I felt that he needed. So that's an important one. And then also listen to your intuition. Your gut knows if something you're holding on to is not anything that you need anymore, that you've outgrown it, that it's not working, that it doesn't fit with your values anymore. You can feel that in your gut. Intuition is the ability to sense or feel that something is true or not true. It's an important piece. So having said that, it's not as simple as that. Sometimes it's complicated deciding whether you should let go of something or not and how to let go of something. So situation number one is when it's kind of clear and pretty easy to let go of things, letting go of things like possessions. You just have to decide if nobody's going to want this, or if you don't want this, or blah, blah, blah. Letting go of things, sometimes jobs, you know, takes a while, but you figure out this isn't working for anymore. Letting go of thoughts. We know when we have negative self-talk that we maybe need to let go of, or if we're stuck in the past with our thoughts. So these are all things that you can like donate, throw out, find a new job, discard a project, replace your thoughts. Pretty, you know, straightforward. Then there's situation number two, more complicated and nuanced. So letting go of caring, for example, letting go of caring for an elderly parent or a sick friend, where you're caring for them every day, you're being drained by it, or trying to manage a child's mental health issues, or like leaving or divorcing a spouse who's ill. I mean, these are very complicated and nuanced situations. So it's not as easy as the situation number one. So you have to decide if continuing to hold on to the situation fits with strong values of yours. So for example, if you are still involved with an adult child because they have mental health issues, then and it's draining you, you have to find something about it that fits with your value system. So if you feel that this is a big value for you to be there and at least be an anchor for somebody, for a sick parent or a sick friend or a child, if that is a big value for in your life, then you're going to get some energy from it. You're not just going to be drained by it, because if you focus on that value for yourself, I'm doing this because I think I'm helping out in a way that nobody else is going to be able to help out. And this is my blood, and this is of value to me. This is important to me. This is what I want to do as part of my life. Then you're getting energy back from that because you're doing something that's of value to you. So sometimes if it's one of these more complicated situations, you have to really take some time to give yourself that I'm doing something that's of such great value to me. It's important, and I think it's significant. And let yourself get filled up with that. That can help you kind of get through these more complicated situations. So tap into your values in order to create positive energy coming back to you. Instead of you're just giving, you're getting positive energy back from you. And in these kind of situations, talking with somebody, friends, pastors, counselors, working in a way to find a gray area. So it may not be that you're going to care for this elderly parent all by yourself 24/7. You're going to find a way to kind of work through and find, well, I'm going to do this every day, but I'm going to have somebody else come in for 8 hours a day so I can get out and go to the cardiovascular wellness program, or I can, you know, do things for myself. It can't be an all or nothing thing. We may need to find a gray area with some of these things that have to do with letting go. But why is it important to let go? The only constant in life is change, right? Everything changes. Everything in life is temporary. Everything changes. And there's a term for it. It's called touch and go. So everything that comes into our life that we touch or we're touched by does not stay, does it? It's all going to be gone, or it's all going to change. And accepting that is huge, because then we can appreciate when we have something right in front of us. Like I can just appreciate having all of you here listening to this lecture today, because I do so appreciate having so many people here listening and paying attention and occasionally nodding. No. Because the next time I give a lecture, you may not all be here. There may be 2 people sitting here. So, you know, it always changes. Everything goes. But holding on to something that doesn't serve our current state or doesn't bring us happiness or joy or value takes a lot of energy. When you continue to pour energy into things that don't give you anything back, then you have no time or energy to create new things, to make room for something new and something that may be energizing, that can bring you new joy and happiness. If you don't let go of your old skin, you can't get any new skin.
And you can't get rid of the parasites.
And you can't get rid of the parasites.
You know, wing it. Is that like that? Wrote that book, Japanese descent, that about spark joy.
Oh, yeah. Hers is, the question was, is that about the Japanese woman that wrote the book. Does anybody remember the name? I can't remember, but it's about letting go of household items. You pick up an item, you say to yourself, does this bring me happiness or joy? And if not, then you give it to somebody else that it may bring happiness or joy to. You give it away. Yeah, it's, yes, letting go of, that's an example of letting go of possessions, but also letting go. I'm talking about today, you know, beyond that, letting go of old habits that don't bring you joy and happiness, letting go of situations in your life that don't bring you joy and happiness and energy, finding a gray area, maybe a way that you can keep some of those things, but not in the way that you've been doing it. So we're going to kind of go through some of the big ones. Letting go of mistakes we've made. That's a tough one. And like I said, sometimes we don't even know that we're still carrying around the guilt of that. I know I have some guilt about, you know, mistakes I made with my children still that I carry around. And I think that I am not carrying them around, but then occasionally they pop up and I realize I am carrying those around. So berating ourselves for past mistakes keeps our energy stuck in the past, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And doesn't allow us to use our best selves in our current life. We're back over here trying to solve that, and we're not, you can't go back and change that. All we have is the present moment. It keeps us stuck in our negative energy. It keeps us stuck in our negative belief system. We're sitting here thinking, oh, you know, I was a bad mother, could have done it better, blah, 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 blah. How does that help me right now? Berating myself doesn't help. Doesn't allow us to grow, to believe in ourselves, to create wonderful new things in our current life. It doesn't allow us to be human. And then if we're not being human, it doesn't allow people around us to be human. Because if we think we're sitting here like we're this perfect little being with no mistakes, then everybody around us thinks they all have to be perfect too, right? And we're all human, you know, and that's how we connect, is by being our authentic, real selves. And we've all made mistakes and none of us are perfect. If we don't connect with other people, if we're not human, it narrows our lives and makes us live a contracted life where we're not expanded and open to everything and bringing other people in. If you dropped an egg on the floor, you'll clean it up. You'll be done with it. It happened. You cleaned it up. It's done. You don't call yourself a clumsy loser every time you see an egg, do you? I know Carrie does, but the rest of us
look
don't.
at it and think, how much did that cost?
Right, but if you did, if every time you saw it, open the refrigerator and you saw an egg, you thought to yourself, I am a clumsy loser, you wouldn't, I mean, you would be afraid to even like do anything, right? No, we move on from it. We make mistakes. Maybe we learn something from it, but we move on and we open up our world to what's in front of us. So it's the same thing. Berating ourselves for mistakes we've made with our children or significant others is not helpful. It's different. You can like learn from them. You can have a discussion and you can learn and grow and move on, but staying stuck back there. I'm a lousy egg dropper. I'm a lousy parent. It's not helpful. So letting go of those kind of thoughts that are in our head are important, and we all have them. This always helps me. When I think of something, you know, bad parenting that I did, I think it's never too late to do the right thing. So what is it that I felt that I didn't do right with my children? If I can think of that, and I can think of a few things, how can I do that in present day with my children? Or if my children aren't around, how can I do that just with my friends or significant others? How can I do that behavior now?
Talk about it.
It depends on what the behavior is. But if you feel like you were critical, for example, with your children, then you can decide I'm no longer going to be critical in my interactions with my children or with my friends or with people. You know, that you can, what you can do now. So you can't change the past, but you can do the best right thing now. And it's such a peaceful feeling to think, oh, I can't change that, but I can do it now. I learned from it. So that's how we let go of carrying around past mistakes and the blah, 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 blah in our brain. Letting go of past resentments or hurts, a little bit different than letting go of mistakes we've made. This is things that maybe have been done to us. So be aware that your lower brain, it's called the amygdala. It's kind of the survival part of your brain. Maybe holding on, that's what that part of your brain does. It holds on to painful things or hurts or injuries that we've had in the past in order to let us feel like we can exert some control over it. So that part of our brain is kind of vigilant. It's noticing things, and that's its job, is to kind of notice that. But we can get stuck in the old stories and all in that old negative energy. So when you're thinking of the past hurt, somebody that's hurt you or something that happened that wasn't right, and you're kind of got this whole story going, a more reasonable question, and I do this, can you change how you interpret a fact or a memory of a fact? What is true and helpful about what you remember? What are the other parts of the story? So I'll give you an example. Carrie and I and Linda and Debbie Lucas, we were all part of a program at UC Davis Medical Center for years. It was called the Coronary Heart Disease Reversal Program. And this is an offshoot of that. But we worked there for years, and it was this wonderful program. And we had sometimes we would have 50 patients there in a day. And it was similar to this, cooking together. And there were a lot of social things, and there were psychology support groups and lectures and just high energy. And we're helping so many people. We're helping people with diabetes to better manage their diabetes. And the med center, in its infinite wisdom, decided to just get rid of the program because it wasn't, making a lot of money. And I was very resentful of that. And I, even after, a couple years later, I still was carrying a lot of resentment. And I had this ruminating thought, and I had certain people that I was angry at in my head. And finally, I decided that a lot of the people that made those decisions really had no idea of what the value of the program. And there's no way for them to have known because they didn't have our life experience. They weren't in the program. They had a whole different life view that they were looking at and that people above them were expecting of them. And so I eventually just gave them all grace. I just thought they didn't know. They didn't know. How could they know? They couldn't know what we knew. And so if they don't know, how could I have those expectations of them? So I just let it go. And what I did is I changed my story. There was a story that people like stopped the program, but there was also this other story that they didn't know. They were doing the best that they could, really. Their intention was not to do a horrible thing. And so then what happened? So then what happened? I thought it was a horrible thing that program got shut down and blah, 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 blah. But look, we would not have had, you all would not be here today if that had not happened.
Yeah.
And if we would have all, if Dr. Capagoda and all of us and Linda Palmer, if we would all just stayed in that resentment, oh, you horrible people, we can never create another program, blah, 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 blah. This would not be here. So that's what happens when you stay stuck in the past and you don't let go of things, then you don't have the opportunity to create wonderful things in your current present. And this is, Linda just brought this over. This is Dr. Capagoda's handwriting. And he wrote, that which cannot, so there's an old saying, that which cannot be changed must be endured. And he changed it around, he crossed it out. That which cannot be endured must be changed. And that's why this program was created, because he could not endure the loss of such a wonderful program. And so he brought it over here, and it's in a new way, in a way that we didn't imagine at the time. And it's a wonderful thing. So that's what happens when you let go of things.
I have a precious statement for that, but I think I've always thought that had I stayed, I would have just turned into a completely raving.
Yes, yeah, yeah, because we were all, I don't know if you heard me, but I was very resentful and I was
Yeah,
holding
yeah.
on to that. Mhm. So, but that's an example, but I bet you we all have things like that in our life. Old resentments that we're holding on to. People did this to me, they did that to me, blah, 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 blah. It's only hurting us. Yes.
An example of something that kind of fits in here. As a parent, I had a lot of hurt from one of my daughters. That
Mhm.
was not
Uh-huh.
here, blah, blah, blah. And finally, at some point, 2 years ago, I was talking to a wonderful friend and priest, and he said, "Can you accept that you can't?" And that just changed
Mm,
everything.
Yeah.
for me.
yeah,
Or instead of being resentful that she wasn't showing me love, I was able to say she can't,
she can't do it.
or whatever be her or make me love.
Right, because the way her brain is set up, we all have ways that we're born. Yes. And you quit taking responsibility for it.
Yeah.
Yes. Huge. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Yes.
Can you restate that a little bit? I didn't hear that.
Sh- Dodie was saying that she had a daughter that she was having a lot of pain from their relationship because the daughter wasn't able to give Dodie love, and it made Dodie feel probably like she wasn't a good parent and all those things. And she had counseling for years. And finally, a pastor that she was talking to said, what?
Can you accept she can't love you?
Can you accept that she can't love you? It's not that she, is refusing to do it. She doesn't have the capacity. She doesn't have the wiring
Right.
to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
And my expectations really.
Right. Yes. And then you could accept her as she is.
The time.
Yeah. Right. If you keep that, see, we're going to talk about mantras, and that's a mantra to have in your head to help you get through those tough times with her. Okay, so thank you for sharing that perfect example. So as I'm talking, be thinking about your own lives, because we've all got examples for all these things. So letting go of things that we no longer have the physical ability to do. Yeah. So letting go of these things, because if we still are stuck on something that we used to be able to do, such as gardening or pulling out a tree or whatever it is, then we're putting all our energy into thinking, oh, I can't do that anymore. I wish I could do that. I'm going to be able to do that maybe tomorrow. We just get stuck there. It's not the present. It's not the present. So letting go of obsessing, ruminating, being angry about our loss of physical abilities. If we stay attached to things we can no longer do, that keeps us stuck in the past and not open to what is joyful and helpful in the present. We miss all that the world has to offer, other things. So when I retired, I had a whole plan, a picture in my head that I was going to do. I was going to become this whole creative side. I was going to embrace the whole creative side of myself. And I was going to take ceramic classes and painting and drawing. And that was what I was going to do. I wasn't going to do any of this that I'm doing right now. And but I had, at the same time that I retired, about 2 years before I retired, I developed this upper back thing. And so I don't know if you guys have seen me walking around with a back thing, but lots of times I get this spasming in my upper back. And so sitting, even doing this, triggers it for me. And so when you're doing sculpture or painting or anything, you have to just sit for hours in these same positions. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I struggled, and I was angry, and why me? And this was my plan, and blah, 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 blah. And I still kind of have it in the back of my mind. I'm still working toward getting rid of this pain. But meanwhile, I said, I'm going to do other things that I enjoy. And then this opportunity to come back and be here opened up. And if I would have just stayed stuck with, no, I'm going to be a creative person, and creative means the ceramics and it means the drawing, I wouldn't get to do all of this, which has brought me so much joy. And it is so creative being here. Like, nobody told me to teach, this class today. I get to create it, So Only if we let go of things that we need to let go of,
Open the door.
do they open the door and bring joy back into our lives. So letting go is a good thing. Big one, letting go of trying to control everything, right? The truth is we can't control most things. Most things we can't control. But we're hardwired to feel like in control. Some of us more than others, depending on our genetics and what we've been modeled as children. So some of us really have a strong need to control everything. We think that by trying to control everything, we will have less anxiety. If I can just get this list made and get all these things checked off and make sure that plan A, B, and C below this is all in order. We think that if we do all that, we're going to end up with less anxiety. But in fact, trying to control others and control our environment is one of the biggest contributors to anxiety, because it makes us feel like we have the power to create all good things and make all bad things not happen, right? What a huge responsibility that is. I mean, we're not God, you know? So carrying that around, I can make my children happy. I can make not bad things happen to them. I can make them love me if I just say or do the right thing. Huge responsibility. And that is just not the truth. You know, we don't have that kind of power. So what do we have control over? We have control over our thoughts, what we think about a situation. And you helped get some control over your thoughts by talking to a pastor. And we can help. That's what we do. We talk to friends, we talk to family, we talk to counselors about our thoughts and what we're thinking. We have thoughts over our actions. And we have control over how we process our emotions, how we deal with a situation. Do we stay calm in a situation? Do we start yelling at everyone? Do we withdraw? Do we criticize? We have control over that. And if we haven't developed those skills, we can work on developing those skills. We have control over that. But we don't have control over other people's thoughts, other people's actions, or other people's emotions. We do not have control over that. So I'll give an example. My son used to smoke in the past, and then he stopped smoking. And then recently, he's started using, Carrie probably knows what these are. It's some cool thing that 20 and 30-year-olds do. It's like almost, that comes in this cool little thing and they just stick it in their mouth. I don't know what they're called, but Zen. Yeah. It comes in a cool little box and it's just got cool written all over it. And the people think that, well, if I'm not inhaling the carbon monoxide, that I'm not hurting myself, right? But you're still getting the nicotine, which nicotine all by itself contributes to decreased cardiovascular health, right? And so anyway, so my adult son has started using this cool little Zen thing. And number one, he just, he thinks it's okay to do. So I've gotten into numerous discussions with him about this, of course, and I've had no success, right? And so I finally decided that I am not. I've said what I could say. He's gotten the information, and that's all I'm really in charge of. I can give him the information, but I'm not in charge of his thoughts, whether he quits using it or not. I'm not in charge of his actions, and I'm in charge of just my emotions. So I finally just had to kind of get there with it. The reason that I let it go is because I went back to thinking about what type of things do you let go of? So the type of things you let go of are things that are draining your energy. The way I was interacting with them all the time about it was draining my energy, and I wasn't getting anything back from it. Nothing. I was getting no, oh, good thought. I'll think about that. No, none of that was coming back at me. It wasn't giving me energy or making me feel happy. And actually, the way that I was doing wasn't even fitting in with my values, because it was kind of in a criticizing mode that I was in, and not really a helpful mode. And my intuition was telling me, this is not working, got to let it go. What I let go of was the way that I interact with him about it. And I came up with a mantra that I'm going to share with you later. that helps me kind of get through any situations with him. So letting go does not mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean I stop caring about whether or not my son is using this nicotine. It means you stop trying to force others to. You can't force others to do things.
I heard on the news that they're cutting back on the nicotine, the amount of nicotine in cigarettes. That was one of the main things that they're doing this year, cutting back. So that may be something.
People just inhale more deeply, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, that's what my son thinks. He thinks it's helping him quit. But what happens is they end up, you can do Zen anywhere, anytime, and nobody knows. And so you can get triple the amount of nicotine, and you do, than you get from a cigarette where you have to go outside and blah, blah, blah. It's worse. It's not a smoking cessation tool. See how riled up I get? This is why I have to have, I'll show you, I'll share my new mantra that I have to have when I'm talking to my son. Okay, so think about, what do you need to have fall away in your life? What activities might you need to let go of in order to allow space for something new? What negative thoughts do you need to let go of in order to grow, improve, be more grateful, be happier, move forward? What's something that you cannot change? How can you change your attitude and become more peaceful and presently engaged? When you're trying to make these changes, allow yourself to have time and practice in order to open up to these new things in your life. So don't expect to be able to come in here and play mahjong and enjoy it without having any skill or practicing it, right? You have to, and I use the mahjong thing because I see people coming here all the time and you know, circling around the table and not sitting down and being afraid it's a new thing and expecting to be able to sit down and do it. But it takes practice, doesn't it? Yeah. And it takes a while to integrate it as part of your routine. And it's the same with any of these things you're trying to bring into your life. The same is true of letting go of old thoughts, ruminations, poor self-talk. Dealing with your thoughts and feelings is exactly the same. It's a skill that you develop with repetition of your new replacement thoughts and beliefs, having a mantra. There's a lot here. I'm going to talk about this real quickly, but why is it hard to let go? Because our primitive brain, the amygdala, likes to hold on to things that it sees as dangerous, things that have hurt us in our past, likes to ruminate on those. It's always on the lookout to keep those there so we can avoid being hurt again, having bad things happen to us. Also, we feel like we're more in control if we know ourselves in our environment. If we know ourselves as someone who's in a relationship with a certain person, we might not know ourselves as well if that relationship ends. Sometimes we hang on to bad relationships because, well, I'm kind of used to this and I know how to manage this, even though it's bad, I can cope with this, but it might be worse if I let go of this relationship and do a new relationship. If we quit a job, even a toxic one, who will we be when we aren't the person in that career? And what will we do each day? It's unknown. It's anxiety producing. If we stop over-parenting our adult children, will they fall apart and have a horrible life? That's what we think, right? Yeah. Well, that's what I think some of the time. Mm-hmm. How do I parent if I let go of over-parenting? Do I even know how to be a parent if I don't over-parent? That's a little, how do I do that? I have to learn new skills. So staying with a known pattern, even if it's bad, can feel more comfortable than going to a new unknown, which we fear may be worse, right? So the only way to let go of that is to just start doing it and practicing it and getting comfortable with it. You have to start with one step. Sit down at the mahjong table, right? Letting go of who we see ourselves to be can be unsettling. We're uncertain of who we'll be or how we'll feel. As a result, we can get stuck and cling to the bad things in our life, afraid to let go. So that's why we hold on to things, not any other reason than that. Reflect on right now on whether you're ready to let go. Ask yourself some questions, journal, talk to a friend about whether you're ready to let go of some of the things that you might be thinking about today. Is this something serving you in a way that brings you happiness, adds value? Is this something that brings you energy a majority of the time, or does it drain your energy? Is it something that's aligned strongly with an important personal value of yours? Is it something where you give, but you don't get in return? What's your gut, your intuition saying? Is this something that served a purpose previously at a certain period in your life, but no longer fits? So maybe it served a purpose to parent my son that way when he was like 8, but it's not working now. If you decide this is something you would like to let go, but you can't move forward, think about what is stopping you from letting go. So take a moment, just 15 seconds here, and think of what you will let go of. Could be a thought, could be a behavior, past hurts, an old story.
We got a comment. Oh, excellent topic and presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and then once you think of what you want to let go of, you're going to come across hard situations like I will with my son. And so you have to have a mantra in your head. I mean, I don't have to, it's helpful to have a mantra in your head. So this is an example of the mantra that I use with my son. The most important thing for me to do for my son is to share my love, my support, and my confidence in him that he can solve his own problems. Because what am I telling him when I think I'm jumping in and solving his problem? I'm telling him I don't think he can do it. Yeah. So I believe this mantra. When I read it, I feel peaceful, relaxed. I feel like it's true and it's the right thing. So you've got to come up with a mantra that really feels legitimate for you. That's true. That when you say it, you just go, oh, yeah, and like your mantra, like Dodi's mantra that you had for your daughter.
And I have another mantra that comes from a 12-step program, and I'm sure we've all heard it. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
And that works for
Everything. Yeah. Thank you, Dodi.
Mhm.
So I had a lot to get through. Any things that you guys have thought about during the lecture that you thought, oh, I want to let go of that you'd like to share, or any insights you've had? You don't have to share anything. It's okay. It's okay. It's that you've let them go. That's why. Yes. How many ladders do you have? Yeah,
But it was.
you had more. Yeah. Right. Yes. And going in that garage every time and seeing all that stuff is a reminder that you used to be able to do that, and it pulls you right back to that, doesn't it? So you gotta let go of it so that you can do new things now. What's next, right? Any other comments or questions?
It's just plain and simple. The things that you can't, the things that you have no control of, you must let go. You can't control them or you can't change them,
Yes.
but you must let go.
Mhm,
That helped, it worked for me,
mhm.
years ago, I was going through some changes. My first divorce, and I had like Jody did, a talk with the minister, and when he said those words to me, it changed my whole outlook, because I could not change the situation in no way whatsoever.
Mhm,
So I had to let go,
mhm,
and I was at ease, at peace.
mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it allowed me to do other things and
Yes.
just think about it.
Yeah, I think, you bring up an example of finding the right thought in our head
Yes.
allows us to let go of things. Yes.
Right. So,
Because if you have that right mantra, you will feel peaceful when you say it. Just like it brought you peace, it brought you peace. This brings me peace in this particular situation.
And I think that it can take a long time. That,
Yes.
You can.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the things was, if you decide there's something you'd like to let go of, but you can't move forward, think about what is stopping you from letting go. And sometimes in order to figure that out, you have to talk to other people. You're not going to figure that out just sometimes by journaling you can, but I don't. But some people really can get deep with journaling and get to the next step. But I know I need to talk to other people, maybe more than one person,
sure.
to just kind of come up with a new story or, finally have a thought in my head that just rings true.
I like your suggestion. Is it helpful and is it true?
Yes.
Yeah, so when I look at situations, is this relationship helpful? And am I being true to myself?
Yeah.
You know,
Or if the way that you're having a conversation with somebody, like my son, has this been helpful? No. And is it true that he can't handle this himself? No. So, right. Yeah, that's a way to challenge some of those thoughts we have in our head. Is this helpful and is it true? Especially about past resentments. Is this helpful to remember that this person didn't come to my 60th birthday party?
Yeah.
And is that helpful? And is it true that they didn't come because they hate you? No.
But it makes them, would it make?
It's true. No, likely they just, had something else come up, life happens. And they probably love you, so there's always another story. If they hate you, yeah, well then that's on them, right? Yeah,
that's good information to have.
good information to have, right?
I was just gonna say that for me, sometimes it's very strange, but it can almost feel good to have that resentment.
Right, because it feels powerful.
Yeah.
That's the amygdala.
And that's
That's the
important.
amygdala in you. That's your primitive part of your brain, thinking that you can hold on to that and that's going to help you. Makes you feel powerful. Yeah. But it doesn't help you be happy or have energy or have joy for what's right in front of you. Okay. Any questions from home?
Tonight's presentation.
Oh,
Thanks.
thank you. These talks are also, Leanne's going to put it online.
Yes.
And do you know how to get to that place online? We can show you. Yeah. All the talks there's a copy of them online on YouTube under the cardiovascular wellness program. All right. Thank you everybody for coming.
Bravo.
Move
you.
forward and let go.
Thank you. We're very happy to have.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. Forgot this is important. I found out that this is year 2025 is the year of the snake. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The snake is also a symbol of transformation and rebirth. It sheds its skin and renews itself. A snake is said to bring opportunities for personal growth and change. And 2025 is the year of the snake. Okay, that's it. That's all. I know, especially that one.
I know.
He's pretty evil. Yeah. I can give you a few.